Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the WHISKIEE Podcast. I'm exhausted, and over there's Nate Fu.
Oh, yeah, just call me tired as heck.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long few weeks. Yeah, we've been off the air trying to get back on here and, record on a regular basis, but, life finds a way to take your knees out from under you.
Oh, yeah. Between family, the kids, work has had me doing 14, 16-hour days over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that because it's been, as much as you can, of course, talk about beyond NDAs. But, yeah, that's the cause for drinking coffee with a little bit of Jameson spiked in it. A little bit, I say.
A little bit is, maybe there's coffee, food coloring, and Jameson and the rest of it.
Something like that, yeah. So yeah, no fancy scotches to share with you. We're recording a little early, so it didn't feel right to be hitting hard stuff before noon.
Yeah,
although it's definitely well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, coffee we drink at all points anyway.
Right.
It is the reason for existence in life at this point.
So what have we been up to the last 3 weeks? I know you and I both now are officially double poked and clear.
Yes.
Of the
we have both had our microchips inserted. We are
5G
double
certified?
vaccinated and 2 weeks out from that. We would like to tell you about Microsoft's newest suite of products. You see, the problem with, though, is you were already a fanboy before you got your chip. So, what's going to happen now? There's going to be no real major difference for you.
No, I know. But I'm getting more and more free games now, it seems.
Right. They've upgraded your subscription tier?
Yeah, my gamer score went up inexplicably because, Lord knows I haven't been gaming much.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing also is, this is actually streaming through my new computer.
Yeah, so, you bastard.
Dude, you just got a brand new computer.
You know what? You gave me my fair share of grief, so I just got to throw it back at you. But no, that was...
it's a pretty new computer.
It is a very nice new computer. We can share photos in Discord if you'd like of the new monstrosity.
AMD 5700.
I thought it was a Ryzen 9, wasn't it?
No. I think it's a 5700.
Okay.
And then GTX 3090, 64 gigs of RAM, multiple terabyte hard drives.
Yeah.
What is it, NCME? NVMe.
Yeah.
I don't know, all these letters. Which we'll talk
NVMe
about more when I
SSD.
talk about why I've been so busy the last couple weeks.
Yeah, that was a well-earned purchase. That was, you were unfortunately fortunate enough to work for a company that respects your time and efforts. That when your old system decided it wanted to completely crap out multiple times during meetings for
literally having blue screen on
having Zoom open. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make for good business. So, granted,
and luckily the boss is also a gamer.
Yes.
So, after him spending 2 or 3 weeks trying to find the parts to build it himself, we realized that's not going to physically happen. So
I love how he was like, can we work on something, maybe get you a new system? And you're like, yeah, let me spec out the parts and I'll let you know. And 2 days later, he's like, what about this one? And you're like, that's kind of overkill for what I need, but I'll get back to it. And he goes, well, it's on its way. So
yeah, it's already been ordered and it's on its way. And of course it arrived the day that we went and took a little family trip out of town for a week.
Yeah.
So you actually got to, set it up and play on it before I even got to look at it.
By play, I opened up Destiny for about 10 seconds, launched into the tower, and went, yeah, this is pretty, and then I logged out of it. Because, unfortunately, no good deed goes unpunished. And not a knock on cyberpower. I get it. Everything's, all topsy-turvy, wibbly-wobbly right now. But I'm not impressed with their quality control.
Yeah, no, the box showed up with the motherboard not properly mounted.
Not even close. Yeah, it didn't line up with the backplane at all, and you couldn't put in like 2 of the USB ports. Mm-hmm. So
that being said, the rest of the pieces seem working so far. They're actually able to get their hands on these pieces, which is a feat in of itself.
And that's the one thing. There's been discussions going on in multiple Discords because people are looking to upgrade before with the chip shortages that are going on right now, and then of course video card scalpers throwing the price of everything through the roof, and then tariffs and taxes.
Yeah, no, I looked on StockX, the scalper site for things, and a 3090, not special edition, just 3090 standard card was going for $3,200 just itself.
Right.
That's roughly the price of a computer super high end a year ago.
That's more than what I spent on mine with a 3070 in it.
Right.
So yeah, it's absurd. So yeah, cyberpower and some of the what would you call them, boutique builders, they have better sourcing than the average consumer. So it is a viable option if you're looking to build a high-end rig, and you're okay with someone else putting the pieces together for you. And, that's why we both went that way. It was like, hey, we have them. Okay, right. Put it together. And then, again, when this one came up, it was like, oh, crap, the motherboard's not.
Yeah, but that was the only issue.
Right. Which, for me, I was going to build it anyways. So I'm like, your thing, your monster PC comes in. I already had to take the side off of it to pull the packaging material out of it, But then, my wife walks in and I've got your brand new 3090 sitting on the desk. And, I'm pulling the motherboard, extracting the motherboard out of the case. And she goes, "Are you sure you should be doing that?"
We still want to be able to come over and be friends with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're a hobbyist that, is familiar with the inside of a PC, it's definitely a viable option. If you can deal with, like, I had one minor hiccup with mine as well. And yeah, I have enough know-how. If you're someone that's looking for something to come out of the box, maybe look somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, we went with the name because there was a little bit of security and speed behind it. But there's a lot of vendors out there right now that are doing exceptionally well. I'll shout out Power GPU right now.
What was the other one? The T-Rex runs.
Oh, I don't know.
It came up recently in conversation as well. But yeah, there's a few reputable boutique vendors out there that, again, it's like they have sourcing on stuff that just we can't, without paying scalper prices. So
now that we've gotten you all super excited about tech talk, how's your kids been doing the last couple weeks?
Well, let's let that little gust of wind die down here real quick. The kids have been very 4-year-old and very almost 3-year-old.
That's a good approximation of it.
Yeah, we're still pushing boundaries, but we've got some pretty good structure in place. Bedtimes have been a lot easier. It's not without its share of arguments, but the arguments now are consistent, and we have, I guess, a pretty good method on how we deal with them. It's a lot of screaming, and you let them scream.
Well, your kids are back in daycare now, also, right?
Yes, they are, and that's actually been it's been very much a blessing because they have time away from daddy and especially mommy, which over the course of this pandemic, the last year, they've grown accustomed to constantly seeing mommy and by proxy constantly seeing auntie. Because because everyone's home and we've got to put some variety in their life. But with the limited socialization we've had,
right,
that basically means they bounce between my house and your house, probably to the level of 50-50 at this point.
Yeah. Although, like, the last week, so last week for us, our wives both went back to teaching. But
in class, yes.
In classrooms. So they do remote learning in the morning. And then in the afternoons, the kids go in. And basically, it's like a study hall type environment. They're not allowed. And it's, voluntary to the parents whether the kids go or not.
Right.
But, your kid's at daycare. My kid is actually starting tomorrow at the same daycare. But she wasn't able to do this first week. So this past week has been, trying to hand her off to a number of different family members as necessary. So Mama Bear can go in and teach. And, this week in particular, as I said, I've been doing, 14, 16-hour days. So I'm like, sorry, love you all. I will see you maybe after she's asleep.
Yeah, I love that the caveat for your child going into daycare was a certain parent that also puts their child into the daycare had an issue with my wife taking our children to the zoo. And which is like, I'm just not comfortable with that. And, good, more power to them. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and it opened up a slot for yours. So,
right. So I'm down with it.
Right. I'm down with that. And, they're still in a situation where he still works from home. So it's an option. So, hey, can't look a gift horse in the mouth. Right.
Well, it's been nice also this past week because on Wednesday, my now fully vaccinated 90-year-old grandmother came into town. And it's the first time she's met my little Ewok since she was born.
Right.
So, it has been a whirlwind of, her catching up and just watching, basically my grandmother and her great-grandchild interact for the first time. And they're both loving it. My daughter, just like yours, is very headstrong to get her way, but she's also, realizes when someone is, on her side. So she's been going around and, yesterday we went out to lunch with my grandmother and my daughter, wife, and I, and my grandmother sat in the back seat, and she and my daughter just were holding hands in the car as they're going and playing with each other, and it was just so great to see.
Yeah, you can't buy those moments,
right?
No, I'm glad she was able to come in town, and things have gotten to a point where that can happen.
Right.
So, yay! We're slowly coming out of this whole thing, and yeah, it like today. After we're done recording, I'm actually going to finally have a gathering with my family. Which I haven't really done on any scale since Christmas of 2019. So it's my half brother's birthday and my nephew's birthday all happen over the course of the next 2 days. So we're gonna go and hang out at Chi-Chi's, which again, we're still coming out of this thing, so there's some hesitation involved on everyone's part. My father was kind of upset that my wife and children won't be joining us, and it is what it is. Like I'm fully vaccinated. I trust the science, but you know what? They're not fully vaccinated, and I still heed the warnings. So you take what you can get, pops. You get me. I'm happy to come hang out with you guys again. I'm actually looking forward to it because, again, like I said, I haven't, outside of you guys, really haven't
seen anyone.
Yeah, really haven't seen anyone. So, that'll be fun.
It's a nice break, I think the hardest part about all this has been the fact that there's been no routine. And because there's been no routine, everyone is on top of each other constantly.
Yeah.
And I love my kids. I love my wife. I love your kids and your wife. They need to go back to work. They need to go to school. They need to get out so that we can all actually, be happy when we see each other, not just
right.
Again, still.
Well, you'll be happy to know that I actually spent all of yesterday cleaning up the backyard at my place.
Nice.
So we can very soon go, throw the fire pit up in my yard and maybe do a episode from there, like we used to.
The good old days.
Now that we have better setups and better lighting, we won't have to deal with the old stage lighting that we were dealing with before, or the complete blackout conditions.
Right.
But hey, it's been a long run to get back to again the way we were.
Yeah, but we've learned a lot and grown a lot in this entire situation, which is nice.
Very much so.
Looking back at it, I was looking back at the show notes for, around when we first started and kind of what the situations were.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of change and growth, not just in what we're doing here, but, our mindsets and how we're approaching different things and, just being dads. I mean, fuck, they keep us on our toes.
That's what they do. Yeah. And again, I'm now 4 years into my oldest, and your youngest, your only,
right?
Until we hear otherwise.
Yeah, not immediately.
Right. She turned 1 how long ago now?
Back in January.
So
she's 14 and a half, 15 months almost at this point. And that kid, let me tell you, she's a hoot. She's incredibly attention demanding,
mm-hmm.
but, not in the clinging all the time, in the, I just want an audience while I prove that I can do this type thing.
Right.
Literally right before we started this recording, your wife was watching her, looked down at her phone, looked up, and my daughter had disappeared. And she had managed to, slide through the bars in the front gate and was sitting in the driveway, looking to get into the neighbor's yard. And that was, milliseconds.
Yep. So have you learned anything from watching our two grow up that you're applying to yours?
Oh, God, yes. First of all, there's some fights worth fighting. It's probably the best one because they're going to win no matter what.
That's funny. That's something your wife had actually said right before we went on the air. I think you and her were both talking is, she doesn't have the most extensive vocabulary,
mm-hmm.
but boy, does she know how to communicate exactly what she wants.
Oh, yeah. And a combination of being very direct as far as, pointing to what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got certain sounds, and we're teaching her, just like you did with your kids, some basic sign language. Mm-hmm. We're making coffee, and there's coffee beans out, and she's sitting there, asking to eat those, thinking that they're chocolate. Like, no. We are not giving the 14-month-old a handful of coffee beans.
No, it's bad enough between the three of them. You can't leave a Coke anywhere within arm's reach.
You can't leave a Coke. You can't leave a drink,
right?
Or a drink. I mean, they're right in there. Literally 2 nights ago, my grandmother was over with my mom and, the family just meeting for the first time. And, there's Maya with my grandmother's wine glass, just, mouth over the rim, with her tongue out trying to get some of the wine at the bottom. And, power to her. Start that liver training early, I guess. But it's not something I really want my child to be known for.
Man.
At the same time, there's a reason why we've got those plastic wine glasses.
Right.
And speaking of plastic glasses, there's one at the bottom of the pool behind you.
Oh, man.
So I'm guessing, someone had help there. But we'll leave that for another recording.
Yeah. And, you know, we're now back in the, you know, as you can tell, it's nice and sunny Southern California.
Yeah.
Where we're getting them back in the pool again.
Although, speaking of, apparently I've lost power to the heater and the pump. So I need to figure out where that fuse box is.
Good times.
Right?
Home ownership fun.
Well, I'm not even owning this place.
I wonder what triggered that.
I don't know. I just work here.
Lord knows we have things getting randomly shut off all the time.
Oh, yeah. So we've got a couple power strips in our bedroom, you know, like one by each of our nightstands so we could charge the phone and have a light over there, that sort of thing. And my daughter's favorite thing right now is, you know, like all kids her age, to push buttons, physically and metaphorically. And so the other day, she, you know, now that she's mobile, she does what she wants. She crawled into our room and turned off all the power strips because, hey, there's that big red button. I push it and it stops being red. Okay, on to the next one that's glowing red. Turns off all the power strips.
Well, you took away the fun ones from her with all the cable management we did with your new system. So that she
apparently
couldn't get
that
to
didn't
those.
work. Since just before this recording, she turned off the computer. And now she's tall enough that she can reach up to the desk and, you know, hit the keyboard. And somehow she seems to keep turning on this, like, NVIDIA graphics overlay that I don't even know how to turn on. Like, I don't know what buttons to push. I don't know. I didn't know it existed until I walked in one day and it was on my screen. I'm like, how the hell did you get to this?
Alt-G, I believe it is, for the NVIDIA overlay.
I don't know. It just doesn't. Apparently, I've got instant replay turned on my computer right now.
It's a very unique set of button combinations. But yeah, there you go. Trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, man. So yeah, she's going to start getting her outside education on from our daycare, which
yes, yeah, for 14 months.
I will say we very much lucked out with the daycare that we have. It's not a what would you say? Not a puppy mill style.
Yeah, and she used to be an early education teacher. You know, she actually taught our wives' cousins when they were little kids. And now she's doing her own independent thing out of her house. And she only does it for teachers in the school district.
Right.
But, you know, it's not just drop them off and they go do their thing, whatever. It's drop them off and they actually get an education. And they, you know, interact. You know, but for us, you know, my wife and I, your kids at least came into the pandemic and were already old enough and already been socialized for a bit.
Right.
You know, our kid was born just before lockdown started.
Yeah.
And literally, she's been out twice to see people that are not this immediate group.
Right.
So, like, you know, as my wife put it, people keep asking her, aren't you going to be sad when she goes to daycare? She's like, nope. She's been on me 24/7. I think this is the best thing for both of us.
Yeah, and she will definitely do good, you know, being around new faces that aren't.
And I mean, her cousins, your kids will still be there, but, you know, it's a nice change.
Right.
It's going to be someone that's not going to tolerate some of the things that she's allowed to get away with. And she's going to be exploring. You know, the nice thing is it's just like your kids in their own way. She's very inquisitive.
Yes.
And can also be very independent. You know, but her big cousin, you know, your oldest has already said that she's going to look out for her. So we'll see how that works out.
It's so endearing watching. Watching.
But also terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, your oldest way of looking out for people usually involves them, you know, her running and punching one of us in the nuts. So,
right. Or putting a leash on the other one to make sure that they stay safe and in line.
Yeah. That was a fun thing. I walked out of the bathroom this morning and she had taken the dog leashes and wrapped something up and tied it off to one of the door handles. I'm not saying this is a precursor to something, but this may be a precursor to something.
This has already happened in our house where it was, she wanted to make sure Charlotte stayed safe, so she wrapped a leash around her and then was holding the other end of it, which is cute and all until you realize that the leash is around the neck of Charlotte. And I know you mean well, but no, that's not okay. we've been having very, very, very many conversations lately about safety and security and why people can't run off and just go.
Right.
But there's a limit to that where, guess what? We also don't lash them to a tree.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we got in a big fight yesterday because, I'm mowing the lawn and weed whacking the backyard, so I have the back gate closed, and I turn around to find that my youngest is in the backyard and my oldest is literally dragging her by the back of the shirt. Again, a lot of stuff going on around the neck area, and Daddy gets real protective about that.
Well, I mean, when your oldest tries to assert control and dominance over your youngest, if your youngest can't win, she turns around and asserts dominance over mine. So that shit rolls downhill.
Oh, God, yeah. Kids, aren't they great?
Right? Well, your oldest is starting to learn how to utilize the people's elbow.
So speaking of other crisis moments, you talked about work has had you working like 14 plus hour days.
So, like for those that don't know, I'm working right now in cybersecurity. We're a boutique firm that pretty much specializes in cloud environments, but also in, supplementing teams and helping them, not only develop, programs tailored to their specific needs and deal with compliance, but we also do what's called IRs, or incident responses.
Right. So
a group came to us with a IR and basically said, all right, we need you guys to help, figure out what happened, how did it happen, make sure we've got a, coordinated, defense, basically, an effort, etc. So this effort has been going on for about a week and a half, over 2 weeks at this point. And what's nice is most people that I've worked with thus far are, hey, I think we've been hacked, but I don't know what to do, so I just turned my computer off and on again. But this group is incredibly technical. And they're talking about the XLMR connects to the local host, and then the AARP is affected by the NAACP. And I'm over here like trying to take notes and keep up with it, and I'm just like, fire bad. But no, it's a great group, and they've got their act together. And so what we've been is kind of a third-party review / outside perspective of what it is, right. As well as keeping them organized and helping them prioritize things.
Right.
So it's been less on the engineering side and more on just the sheer volume of what they're looking through and going through. But 7 a.m. meetings that started off, and then a 6 or 7 p.m. meeting to end the day, and multiple things in between, plus all the other clients that we've been going with.
Whew.
So thank God the new computer showed up, because I don't think Zoom for that long would have lasted.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So, but hey, that's why they pay me the big bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting realm of technology. We've been dealing with a little bit of that ourselves with updating with compliance. Again, I work in aerospace, so we have to be beholden to DOJ and what they call DFARS regulations, and we've got
a client that we do DFARS for.
Yeah, so. And it's security isn't convenient. So trying to roll stuff out where it makes sense to the end user, and the end user just wants to be able to sit down at their computer and log in and play solitaire and search porn,
which are not DFARS compliant.
No, not at all. It's been an ordeal, to say the least. So. Yeah, I don't envy you, and I understand the amount of work that you're your firm has you going through right now.
Well, this is just one of 16 clients under the belt. So while we're doing that, I've got to also try and keep the plates spinning for everything else. Which thankfully, knocking on wood, has actually been thus far holding up. But we've got a couple new technical team members starting. Nice. Soon, so hopefully by the time they start, we're out of the woods on this thing. Yeah. And can come up for air. But
it's definitely a never-ending. It's a never-ending thing because again, you once you build a better mousetrap, the mouse gets smarter.
Yeah.
So and again, your line of work, you have a team of ethical hackers.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got a couple white hats.
Yeah.
Although for one or two clients we've talked to, we might be doing a red team, which basically means we will actively try events against them to see how their systems and their people respond to them.
Yep.
As part of a training situation. But I just want everyone to wear red shirts at that point as they get taken out. But there's. And I think this goes for a lot of my background as well. There's crisis management. What do you do in those sort of situations?
Right.
And at the end of the day, crisis management is crisis management across the board. And it's about establishing clear communication, priorities, who are the stakeholders and responsible people, and how do you keep things moving in a clear but secure way. And so, unfortunately, this hasn't been my first IR, but this is, my first IR where the, team is, beyond us, actually technical.
Right.
So we're going down rabbit holes that I don't even know are possible.
Right. Well, this is the first time you've been on that side of the team.
Right.
Like before, it was like, okay, I'm on the client side and we had an incident, and now you're interfacing, between your company and the firm. Now you're on the firm interfacing with the company. So that's got to be a fun little bit of education for you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, sink or swim and no floaties. But there's so much that had I been in this situation a year or two ago, I don't think I would have necessarily had the same kind of patience for it.
Sure.
Becoming a dad, switching industries, kind of coming to that self-realization as far as what mine is at the end of the day, no one's dying because of this. So let's figure out where it is. Let's try to do the best job possible. Perfection's never going to happen because you're not going to find everything you need. You're not going to be able to magically find it. I think in less than 1% of cases for IRs do you ever find a smoking gun.
Right.
So it's what do we do? How do we make sure the proper steps are taken? And how do we make sure that we are protected, our clients are protected?
Well, and again, it's, nature of the beast. The systems that you guys put in place to protect the end user are also being used against you by the perpetrators that are trying to get into it, between obfuscating, source of attack and VPNs and whatnot, and, distributed client attacks.
Dictionary, packet stuffing, credential.
It's nearly impossible to actually, we pinpointed it down to, some user in Thailand.
Well, I mean, right now, you can get disposable IPs. So if you've got any kind of common sense, you're doing some redirect through Alibaba or AWS or something like that. And
again, these are all things that are set up to help you prevent this.
Right.
And it's being used against
you. That's all technology. Everything in life is a double-edged sword.
Yeah. The same thing goes for
energy is great until it's used as a weapon.
Same thing goes for our kids. We teach them things. In the case of my children, just the simple thing of trying to get them to bed last November. Like we said, hey, you know what? The sun's asleep, so you need to be asleep. And then we hit daylight savings time.
Yeah, well, the sun's still up,
right? So at 7:30 at night, my daughter looks at me and says, "The sun's awake, so I'm awake."
Yep. Well, then there's the flip side of that. Your daughter came into my office yesterday and said, "Uncle Wookie, it's time for you to go to bed. I want no crying, no asking for more time, no complaining, and no excuses. You need to go to bed right now.
This is not an option. Yeah.
This is not an option, yeah. And I'm like, I'm personally okay with going to sleep at 7. Like, sure, why not? But, like, our words to the mouth of babes.
Again, the tools you put in place to try to prevent incidents, and they get used right back at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had to put a crackdown on a certain word that my daughter loves to use, and she uses appropriately, but unfortunately she's been using it too appropriately. Yeah, the other night, my youngest Charlotte, she's being an almost 3-year-old, and I remember this well with Brooke. I'm gonna start pushing and see what I can get away with. And she's jumping in her bed, and she will not lay down. And I look and go, Charlotte, put your head on your pillow. And from across the room, I hear, "Fucking Charlotte." And you have to be watching the video feed to see the look on my face.
It's a mixture of pride.
It's a look of sheer horror.
Uh-huh.
Because, again, she's not wrong. And I want to say those words myself, but I've now learned the hard way that using it against Brooke has now come back to bite me in the ass.
Well, it's not just using it against her. And she, uses it against the cats, too. Fucking cat.
So, yeah. I had to put my foot down the other day and go, you know what? You use that word too much, so you're not allowed to use it anymore.
Yeah, how'd that turn out for you?
Well, it's surprisingly well. She, gave me a look of sadness and then a look of acquiescence, and she was fine with it. Until 3 days later, when I was trying to put them to sleep, and the cat, decided he wanted to run into the room and play around and be in the room. And I went, fucking cat.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at me and says, Daddy, you're not allowed to use that word anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Son of a bitch.
Shame on you, Daddy Foo. Shame on you.
Shame on me. From the mouths of babes.
Yeah.
I love them. I absolutely love them. They're smart as whips. And
they're terrifying.
They're terrifying. Yeah. Moment of silence for
the good old days.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We're all masochists, so I think we're going for a second.
Lord help you.
May God have mercy on our souls, because we'll get none from them.
So, yeah, Life Tech. You got your new gaming rig. How much have you been playing on that?
I've not been. So actually, on top of this, there's a streamer I follow, Richie Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Richie Bob 2 is his handle. He's got a server cluster for Ark and Conan, and I think they've got an Atlas one up, and Valheim, things like that. And I've recently joined them as a mod to help them, the community, basically, run things there. And, I'm getting a lot of inadvertent time in because I'm helping problem solve some things, but that's about the extent of it. I've got an Archon up so that I can see what the server's doing and if people have problems, and try to, help them that way. But that's about all I've gotten the opportunity to really do. Or I turn on this stuff and then have to walk away and come back and everything's dead. So, all right, cool. Glad we did that. But hopefully with schedules now settling out, even if it is just for 6 weeks until, school's out for the rest of the summer, I'm hoping that bedtime will be standardized and I get a couple hours after bedtime that I can game, maybe stream, maybe work on, the website and the projects again.
It's amazing how much project management skills scales over between, community moderation, child rearing.
Yeah.
It's all the same set of skills.
Well, it's all, there's the Douglas Adams quote. I love deadlines. I love the whooshing sound they make as they go past. A lot of the independent stuff, like I have not updated the website or done any new content on anything in months. And just because I haven't had the time or the system wouldn't even work.
Yeah, no, I understand. Again, if anyone's a regular follower of the channel, you've noticed there's been some extra space in between episodes because, again, life finds a way to, squash every best intention.
Yep. Or dinosaurs. But hopefully, we standardize and are able to really work on some of these other things that we want because, we've been there. I mean, Guardians MH just had another incredibly successful fundraising event.
Dude, it's absurd how well those things have been going.
Well, I mean, it's entirely the efforts that you guys have been putting into it.
Yeah.
And you've got a good team. You've got people that believe in the process and are going with that. But, those are the rare events that we actually get to check out at the moment from everything else around us rather than,
you would think so.
We devote standard time to.
It's one of the, we just had the charity drive this weekend and it was, as a team, the staff and I, we kind of let it rolls pretty smoothly. I have to check in every couple hours and do a handoff, between the blocks. But, what ends up happening is, I spent all of Saturday, monitoring, interacting, keeping track of all the communities that were involved, making sure everything's in line, making sure the conversations are rolling. And to see the end of the day when, you set an initial goal of $2,000, it's a minuscule amount, not only get blown away, but, repeatedly blown away. It's like, oh, we hit the 2,000 mark. Let's bump it up to, we hit the $3,000. Yeah, let's bump it up again. Our last drive, we set a final goal of $4,000 and we ended up hitting almost $4,600.
And this time around?
$6,200.
Nice. Which is, for those that follow for the mental health kits, that's over 600 mental health kits that they're able to send out for free to people that need them.
Which I was also in the process of that entire weekend putting together my share of 50 of them.
I think my involvement that Saturday was lying face down on the bed and sleeping for the first time in a week.
Well, yeah, so, part of that was you were getting your second jab. And
yes. Oh, second jab kicked my ass.
I thought it was funny because, that whole, hey, all my materials came in. I got to do that this weekend. And everyone was like, sure, no problem. Anything you need, we're on board, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing I know, everyone involved has now scattered off and scurried off to do other things. And it's like, well, shit. But, that
Pfizer shot kicked my ass.
Yeah. I've been hearing, again, more and more of my circle of friends have been between the Moderna, the Pfizer, and now the Johnson & Johnson. It's, singing the same refrain, that it kicks your butt for a minute, but it is for the greater good.
Yeah. And I would definitely do it again, but I felt like hot death.
Yes. Kind of knew that was coming.
Yeah.
So.
And then we all caught a cold on top of it collectively, which was just
I was the only one that managed to miss that one. I was very happy about that. But yeah.
Even the teachers with their teacher immunities ended up getting sick. So they've had a year of slacking, and so their immune system's like, wait, what?
Wait, I'm not seeing anyone, and I'm constantly wearing a mask, and we're constantly washing our hands, and I'm not around a bunch of children that are,
Maybe I could take a step back and oh God, why?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we had a successful charity run. That's been fun, and I like my involvement with that has been ramping up more and more. Yeah. Like we just brought on a couple more moderators to the team. Mm-hmm. Get them on board. So
I'd sent actually a couple content creators their way, not just streamers and YouTubers, but I know a couple people working on a game. Mm-hmm. Similar, actually. There's the one that you guys have announced, but this one is, I think, at the end of it will be closer to a what is it? The Viking one.
Valhalla?
No, the
Valheim.
No, it was a AAA studio game of, she's like going through the underworld to save someone, and there's voices and her anxiety.
Oh, Hellblade?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hellblade. So it's similar to that in the fact that it's their concept is that it's a group that you're kind of doing, and so you're helping to manage the group dynamics, but each of them have slight issues. Mm-hmm. In the way that I think one of the characters is actually and you're like kind of reviewing their memories and trying to piece it all together. Right. So one of the characters actually is autistic, and so it's kind of similar to Sound and Fury for those literary people out there.
Nice. Okay.
Where it's, his memories are just a complete stream of consciousness as they're being downloaded. And another ones are, focused around a particular event and how things tie to that one event because that's his obsession or that was his trauma point or PTSD thing. And so it's interesting, kind of what their goal is. So we'll see if anything comes of it and if they follow up.
Yeah. And it's always good to see media mirror life, mm-hmm. right? Accurately. Mm-hmm. We've had it just in the last, I'll say 2 years, we've had a real breakthrough in meaningful inclusion, mm-hmm. Both in the content and operation of, video games and entertainment.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing that a lot in the world stage right now. I mean, just here in the U.S., we're blatantly seeing a pushback and push between, an old mindset of, status quo and a newer mindset of pushing through. Mm-hmm. And the scales of balance in that are shifting. It's a pendulum back and forth.
Right.
But, it's not going away. In fact, this is going to probably be an ongoing battle for a while, as people figure out what this new environment is.
Right. But it's nice to see that, it's actually being explored.
Yep.
And not in such a ham-fisted way. Like, if anyone's been following Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's had a very overt narrative, right, on
spoilers without spoilers,
social issues, mm-hmm. right? That it's not just throwing in your face, but it's doing so in a way that makes sense,
right?
So it's nice to see that art follows life like it should.
Mm-hmm. And I've not been following any. I haven't watched WandaVision yet. I've not watched Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm so far behind on TV mm-hmm. that I've given up on it. But, I know that there's a debate that's like, imagine if this had come out 3 or 4 years earlier, would they have been able to get away, especially being now a Disney mm-hmm. Company, would they have been able to get away with the type of narratives and challenges of social issues that they're
I think now? the answer is yes. I just don't know that they would have known how to properly do it and have the people in place to convey that message.
Right.
Right. Sure, they could have, but it would have looked like a bunch of stodgy old white guys mm-hmm. trying to, for lack of a better term, mansplain how the world's supposed to work.
Right.
But now that we've had, and again, market improvement in inclusion in media, you actually have the writers and you have the directors and you have the operators in play that know No, this is how it should be done.
Right.
Right. And again, you're starting to see games come out that approach neurodivergency in a meaningful way. Mm-hmm. Start dealing with these issues that everyone actually struggles with on a regular basis, but have never had representation and never had a voice that actually made sense to them.
Yeah.
So, yay, progress.
Speaking of progress, what do we got left to talk about?
That cigar is finally done.
That is progress also.
That is progress. There are, just a multitude of stuff coming out with, technology and with gaming and, where do you begin? We'll probably get more and more of this as we go along. Mm-hmm. Be content for future episodes. Seeing how a lot of this plays out,
Well, and a lot of this also, I think, has been because of what's happened with COVID, because mm-hmm. of what's happened there. A lot of these standard rules are being challenged and actively changed. Mm-hmm. Like the idea that you have to go into an office to be productive,
right,
has been eliminated in many cases. And we've got, Fortune 500 blue chip companies that are like, now we're going to start doing things a little more flexibly as we can. My entire organization is remote operations because we're all adaptable and could do that.
Right.
Even before COVID.
But there was that still, whatever it was, the strict adherence of, well, you have to come into an office because mm-hmm. we have to have a thumb on you.
Exactly.
To make sure that you're doing your job.
Exactly. So now it's I think we're seeing a lot more. People, I look at a lot of people that are saying, oh, our kids right now are going to suffer, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, actually, I think kids that have went through, the Great Recession mm-hmm. and kids coming out now, yeah, they've run into hardships and troubles, but they have an ability to adapt and, reshuffle their priorities mm-hmm. in ways that our generation is kind of struggling with and our parents' generation would never be able to do successfully. We're seeing those struggles right now.
Yep.
And so I think because of that, their framework of what life is and what their goals are and dreams is open. And that's exciting for me.
Yeah.
Our girls are getting to see the first, female vice president and grow up there. Our girls mm-hmm. are getting an opportunity to grow up in an environment where progress is being made for them to be equals, if not leaders in situations.
Right. I wouldn't say the glass ceiling is broken yet.
No, but
it's definitely got some cracks in it.
It's a very different picture than where things were when I was in school. So.
Yeah. Very profound statement.
No, I try those every once in a while. Not too often. Else it goes to my head, but... All right. We're at almost an hour at this point.
It's funny how that works out.
Yeah. No, we've had good conversations, so. And it's been a while, so we've had some of this saved up.
Yep. Hopefully we don't go so long in between them, but, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, well, hopefully with a schedule coming back, we'll see some of that until the summer when it all gets screwed up again anyway. But we'll take it 6 weeks at a time.
Yep. All right. Let's get the heck out of here.
All right. So from episode 22, I am ChewDada.
I am Nate Fu.
You know where to find us. You can check our show notes. And with that, peace out.